Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Life Stories Told with Love by She's Mom. Last time, we had a chance to talk to a person who showed us the importance of adventure and how to embrace our true self by being ourselves. And today is my pleasure to introduce to you our new guest, Anne Lane, who tries to make the impossible possible. So, welcome to our podcast, Anne. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much.
How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm very good and hopefully very positive today. Thank you so much. And to begin our conversation, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your life stories?
Of course. Well, I am over 50 and have been living over half my life now in Europe. I'm originally from the United States and started off my international journey with a number of trips as a young person and then ended up in Germany. And to make kind of a long story very short, I ended up doing my naturopathic training and wanted to help people feel better in their bodies and actually help people with different types of illnesses. And in Germany, they're very strict about who can do these types of things and who can't. So I started off by doing energy work and shiatsu because I wanted to use my hands, and I have very powerful hands actually that kind of developed over time. But to work more, outside of the wellness area, I had to become a naturopath. So that's what I did, and I ended up working with actually pain sufferers, chronic pain, and then I moved into the world of fertility. So each time I did additional training, there was like a new wave of people that would come into my practice.
Oh wow! But what do you mean by powerful hands? You mentioned that.
Yes, I don't mention this very often in interviews actually, but somehow it just, your open, loving nature. I'm like, well, I'll talk about my hands. So the best way I can describe it is in childhood, I was drawn to massaging my teacher. We would have story time, and all the children would sit in a circle, and I would get behind the teacher and massage her a little bit. So massage has always been an interest of mine. And then we turned it around that the circle, each child would, because it was a circle, everyone got a massage from the person behind them.
Cool.
And I left that. I went into consulting. I did the whole corporate thing. And then at one point I said, I just want to do something different. So I started working, in the world of shiatsu. And the basis of that is traditional Japanese medicine. And that is all based on traditional Chinese medicine. So feeling the energy in the body. And it took me a while to feel that when I was working on people, because we work on the same meridians as in acupuncture, but we use our hands. And at some point in an Ayurvedic medicine, they talk about the chakras and the body. Well, you also have chakras here in your palms of your hand. You have chakras all over your body that are beyond the seventh chakra system. So when I work on someone physically, or even at a distance, I also do distance work, I can basically bring in energy and transmute it and to someone else, to put it simply.
Oh wow! Fantastic. Can you teach us something about our hands, for example? How can we fix one chakra by using our other hand? Can we do that by ourselves?
Well, before getting to that stage, because I mean, even with training, it took me a while, and then somehow it just kind of happened. I think it's important. There's simple exercises we can do. It's similar to when you're being touched by another person or a lover, for instance, and you have, you can just have this other person run their hand over your body, anywhere over your body, and without touching you, if they have a good distance from you, you can still feel their energy. And I think that's the first point, is to just start feeling and sensing your own energy. And you can do this yourself. You don't have to have someone else or a lover, but that's actually the first thing. And so a lot of our beginning exercises would just be to have our hands and to feel the energy between them. And then you just widen that distance, and you keep that. And that is when you'll start to feel the heat coming off of your hands. And that's all it is.
Oh wow! Fantastic. Might try it. Thank you so much. I would like to focus maybe more on your business as
a
can you
woman.
tell us what motivated you to do all those things?
Yes. So when I was living in Germany, I started hearing more and more stories about the children being affected by different neurological conditions in my home country. So in the United States, when I was born many years ago, the children that suffered from autism or autism spectrum disorder was maybe 1 in 10,000. And then it became 1 in 5,000. And then these numbers started becoming, much more common. And it was, at a point right before I had children, where I said, there's something going on here, because it's not our genetics. We can't explain this leap in autism and autism spectrum disorder, but ADHD, ADD, all these different things that are basically neurologically based. And I just started thinking about it, plus my training, and I realized that when parents don't prepare in order to have a baby, everything that's in your body, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, 50-50 of the chromosomes are donated to create that child. And so if we don't clear our bodies, I mean, literally, of heavy metals and pesticides and, all these environmental toxins that affect us, but they really affect children. And so I started thinking about the idea of having something called conscious preconception. So pre as in before conceiving, and then conscious meaning aware, like purposely and intently taking 6 months or a year, ideally a year, to prepare your body before having a baby. And this is something we find around the world in traditional cultures. And in particularly in the East, the emperors, the aristocrats, the kings and the queens, they would always have a special type of treatment, a special diet that they ate even before getting married, because they knew the better and healthier they were, the more likely they were to have a healthy child. So that's initially where the idea came from, was literally from the amount of children that have neurological disorders at a very, very young age. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. Is there a specific event in your life that you consider, I don't know, a turning point, or how did it shape you? Who are you today?
I have to laugh because there's probably a few. Probably one of the biggest ones was my decision to move to Germany in the first place. I was just about to turn 26, and I didn't know the language. I had taken a food class as I could ask the time and understand the answer, but that was about it. And I had no job lined up. I didn't speak the language. I didn't have any friends. I did have a boyfriend, so that was one thing. And I ended up selling everything, and I had 2 boxes, 2 suitcases, and my cat that I brought to Germany. Because I always thought, I can try, I can give it a go, and if it doesn't work out, I can always go back. And that's always been my attitude. I'll give something a try. And the more effort I give, the more likely it'll actually work out. And I ended up staying in Germany for about 23 years. So,
Oh my God.
a while. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And when you moved to Germany, did you face some cultural racism, maybe, or some kind of treatment that kind of made you say, okay, I made the right decision by moving here, or the wrong decision by moving here?
Well, the beginning was very difficult because at that point in time, I lived in Munich, and no one would speak English with me. Even if they knew a little bit of English, everyone spoke German, which on the one hand, the positive is I had to learn the language and I had to speak and be proactive. But on the other hand, there were a couple of instances where people literally treated me like dirt because I didn't speak their language. So I was very aware of how you can be an educated person from another country, but be perceived as an idiot because you weren't fluent or you didn't have the right accent or whatever. So the beginning was very difficult, I'll be honest, but I got a break. I literally had a lot of luck because through a number of synchronicities, I was kind of discovered by the boss of my boyfriend and started working at a consulting company. And so I really had a chance to do something and develop my skills. And I was really grateful because many people talk about the American dream and you can go to the United States and you can be anything. And I had that chance in Germany, and I really learned a lot at that consulting position, most definitely. Yeah.
Okay. What are three things that you took from that job that made you succeed today? Because you said that it was a life-changing experience.
Mm. Well, probably the first thing is it was a very international culture. I was the only American. It was mostly Europeans. And I learned how to work in a multicultural team and how to deal with different types of thinking and literally different types of people. So that was the first thing. So in the client work I do now with conscious preconception and in the world of fertility, because I'm online, I have to deal with different types of people, different types of thinking. And, you know, one person can be pushed more and the other person you really have to be careful. So it's a lot of psychology of kind of reading people. I would say I definitely took it from that job. And also the projects I went on were also international. The second thing that I learned from that is that it's okay to be a beginner, which I found extremely difficult because everything, you know, the computers were in German and my computer skills weren't that great. And I had to ask questions about almost everything. And I felt, you know, a little silly at that age asking all the what about this and what about that? But it was actually okay because how else can you learn, right? You have to start somewhere. And the third thing I would say is mistakes. You know, there's definitely cultural differences, and there were sometimes translation mistakes that I made that, you know, later on I found out I really said something completely off the wall, and I didn't mean it all. But people were very kind and very gracious, and I was really grateful for that. Like no one ever laughed at me because of what I was
Oh,
saying. I was saying it. They were all, you know, they understood what I was trying to say. And, you know, that's also later on, you know, dealing with people in other languages. If English isn't their mother tongue, you know, I will never laugh at them. I will have the same kindness and consideration that I received back then.
wow. Very nice. Really. Um, One of my other question is if you can share a particularly change. So English is not my native language.
No worries, no worries.
Can you share a particular challenging experience you faced and how you overcome it?
The first thing that comes to mind is actually the whole fertility challenge because it's difficult when you want to have a baby and you can't, and more couples are actually struggling with this. So, for my husband and I, at that point, we had been married and not even a year, and we found out if we wanted to have children, we would probably have to do some type of artificial reproductive technology. And that was extremely difficult. And what I learned from that is that in that whole process, there was actually a process of grieving, which I didn't expect. And I grieved, and my partner grieved because you have to really accept and surrender the situation as it is. And you're trying to take action, like what can I do, you know, can I do this or that? And this is, you know, in 2001 there wasn't the internet like it is now, and it was something that was a process and it took years to work through, and sometimes that's really the way it is. And again, the grieving part is like, well, I'm not going to have the baby the way that I thought I would, and maybe it won't work out at all, and this big unknown was challenging, but it's also something that you can work through because it is a process. There's life before a challenge, there's life during a challenge, and you have to remember there's life after this challenge. There's always three parts to this.
Wow. Okay.
Did I stump you with that? Was that too much?
No, it was perfect, but I never thought about grieving during this type of processes. That's why I was kind of speechless.
Yeah, and the reason why I specifically mentioned that is just like you said, it's like, what does that have to do with grief? And that's what surprised me too. But grief is not just with death. We actually grieve and goes through the 5-part process um, for many different things in life. Maybe it's the relationship that didn't work out. Maybe it's the job that we didn't get. Or quite simply, in my case, the life that I thought I was going to have that I didn't. I mean, we ended up having 2 children, 2 fabulous boys, and we adopted them. But we
Congratulations.
had to go through a completely different way. And there's like, oh, well, if it's not happening the way I want and you have to let go of that, it's actually a grieving process. Yes.
Yeah, it might be. That's true. Thank you for explaining that to us. Um, and as we wrap up, what message of hope or piece of advice would you like to leave our audience, especially for those who might be facing similar changes or challenges in their life?
Just to remember, because the podcast, She Is Mom, is that we as women do have to take on many, many different roles in life. And there will be always a continual flow, I think, of, kind of the old, maybe job or position we had in life. And then we move into entrepreneurship, and then maybe we move into motherhood, or then the kids leave, and it's like everything is always changing and flowing. And I think that's part of the feminine way, is that we actually can move like water and really flow with these things if we allow ourselves to. There's so much power we have as women and in our energy that when we tap into it, we have an incredible amount of strength, and we can handle all of these changes, whether it's professional or private. And often what helps with that is having a friend, having other people that you can really get along with, but also just taking time and really exploring, getting off the phone, getting off the distraction, and just really going within to tap into your own energy. That's the most important thing I think you can ever do.
Okay. And I think it's safe to say that you meditate. What is your mantra?
I actually I use different methodologies. Sometimes I use a mantra, and the mantra I received was directly from my teacher, my guru, and you're not allowed to repeat it. It's
Okay.
actually for you, and when you repeat it in your mind, it goes into your field, and it's a very precious thing. But when I do yoga, for instance, there's very, very simple mantra that I say, and it's just Sat Nam. And Sat Nam means truth is my identity. Sat Nam. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. I will try it my next session, yoga session. Thank you, and again for today. It was a real pleasure to hear your story, to talk to you, and to learn from you. For sure, I will try this experiment that you taught us in the beginning. And for our listeners, don't forget to subscribe and to follow for more inspirational stories. Have a great day, everyone.